Good morning.
Good morning, coffee moaners. I hope you are well.
I hope you are well. How are you this morning, Nadia Sawalha?
I'm actually really tired.
Yeah, I know you are.
I didn't sleep very well last night. I was
sweetie.
haunted
It was
by.
hot as well, wasn't it?
I was haunted by the faces of the babies
Mm.
that I know will have died today through no baby formula. So I was a bit haunted. But we are going to be talking about Gaza separately. This is non-Gaza coffee moaning because we want to do it in proper detail and give it what the attention it needs, because all eyes, of course, have been very cleverly distracted by Netanyahu and Trump over to Iran. So we're doing that separately. So
also, and in terms of, if you haven't, do subscribe to the channel. As Nadia says, we have been following, commenting on, revealing, discussing and unpicking the awful atrocities going on in Gaza and the West Bank. And obviously we, like most of the world, have been talking about the Israel-Iran conflict over recent weeks. So do subscribe to the channel, because we will be uploading lots more kind of observations, exposés, explanations, and all that kind of stuff.
But always like from our heart, really.
Yeah.
We're not a news channel where I like to think of us as an emotional channel.
We do emotional journalism.
Our heart.
Emotional journalism.
Yeah.
But also for members, for family friends in the highest tier of the membership area, it's cook-along night tonight.
Spanish night.
6:30.
Garlic sherry chicken. Patatas bravas.
I'm excited about the patatas
a
bravas.
Lovely salad. And Betty and Teddy are going to join us. So we'll be live tonight. We'll be feeling Spanish. We're making sangria. We're going to have the doors open.
I'm going to be
summery.
Bouncing around like an absolute psycho.
Yeah, and that's...
Hey,
6:30, and you don't have to cook along. You can just join in and watch, and then cook at another time.
Someone did comment or reply to the list of ingredients and utensils, saying, "Really, 3 frying pans?" I think you have 3 frying pans on the list. So I don't know. I think there maybe you would want to throw. They were laughing. It was a laughing emoji. 2.
Yeah,
but anyway, do head along. If you want to know what the hell we're talking about, you can become a family guest, which is a lower cost, or you can become a family friend, and you will see this. Of course, to subscribe, to become a member, it's alongside the subscription button on the channel. So that's if you fancy seeing what the hell's going on tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing your mum and dad.
Yeah, it'd be really nice. So hit your subscribe button and let's kick off.
Okay, so what
this
we're talking about
morning, we are going to be talking about, well, a good old mixture of things, I think, today. And we've got some funny clips, and we've got we've got funny clips as well. So we're going to be talking about the debacle around Prince William and Kate's decision to breed their dog. Lots of people are up in arms about them having puppies.
I've heard lots and lots
about
this.
And we're also going to be talking about incredible stats, to be quite honest, in the difference between men leaving their women when their partner is sick and the other way around. Quite depressing. And also, what's the other one
we're going to be talking about? John Hunt, and the tragic, John Hunt and Amy Hunt gave an interview with the BBC yesterday. He's the BBC sports presenter who tragically lost his wife and 2 daughters, wasn't it? Courtesy of the guy with a crossbow. It's just,
And the reason why Mark's not saying the crossbow killer is it will become clearer when we show you the clip of the interview, and I think it's an important discussion.
So I think we should maybe start with that and move towards the lighter side of things. Personally. So this was an interview given yesterday. I think the interview was given to, what's the name
BBC.
of the BBC?
Victoria Derbyshire, who actually herself was a childhood victim of domestic abuse. We had her on Loose Women a couple of months ago, and very moving listening to her story.
So it was an interview with Amy and with John. I think all the way through this story, from the get-go, one cannot. I remember this story breaking whilst there was a live manhunt for him. I was driving and it was on the radio. This was the most hideous story. And whilst there's the absolute horror of what's happened, and I have to say, John Hunt and his daughter Amy, I haven't seen Amy so much, which is why this interview is significant. but I've seen John Hunt talk about it. I've seen John Hunt go back to television and do his, the racing commentating
and
all
of course his incredible impact witness.
His witness,
victim impact statement.
And it's a weird one, this, because there's the obvious horror and violence of what happened, and then I think for every single parent and woman and partner and anyone with any connection with a female, there's the other end of this violence, which is the slow, silent sense of there being zero signs that this could have happened,
which they do talk about in the interview.
So shall we show it?
But just wanted to say, first of all, I never read the full account. And in fact, when we were talking about it on Loose Women, and I came in and they and they were talking, I said, I just don't want to know the details of the details, because it was so horrific that I couldn't face it. So these two individuals are just beyond courageous. They have no need to do this interview other than to warn others, and also they want their family to be remembered for something more than just the trauma and horror that they've been through. So
you're right, Victoria Moore. We did discuss this. The story a lot as it was happening. And
but I've never read the absolute detail of it,
and it's just
because I couldn't face it. But let's listen to them, give them their voice, and then we can.
Okay.
He was in the house an awful lot in that 18 months. I never heard raised voices once. There were no obvious alarms that were ever wrong.
Was there anything in his behaviour that suggested he could have been capable of what was to come?
There was absolutely, at the point of Louise ending it, there was absolutely evidence that he had turned out not to be a nice person. There was absolutely evidence of that. I want to put it very bluntly now. Did we have any indication that this man was capable of stabbing my mother, tying Louise up, raping Louise, shooting Louise, and shooting Hannah? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I think the point there is, and I'm sure we'll delve into this a little bit, at other points. He's often been referred to as crossbow killer, crossbow maniac. And I think that takes away from the very real issue that we now know to be true, having known this person, is that he was just a person. He was just a man.
And that is what Mark and I were talking about last night. As we say, often the topics that we choose here are topics that we're talking about as a family. It's kind of kitchen table show. But I said to Mark, my God, that is it, isn't it? We want to race and say, this is so outlandish. And I think the weapon of choice helped us do that. That we've never heard of this before. This is so unbelievably rare. And I think the point that she makes fantastically there is, don't slip into that. Don't think of him as a headline, as a rare beast, as a rare monster. We're deeply rooted in misogyny that we know that we have a huge problem with. He couldn't take the rejection. I know that much about the story. I was all right with reading emotional stuff, but I didn't want the details of what he actually did to them, and that he took it so badly that she had finished with him. She did everything perfectly. We spoke about that here at the time, didn't we? Perfectly. She let him down nicely. She explained they had agreed to be friends. But that rage, we hear about that rage on a daily basis, don't we? And many women here will know about that. Like when our girls say, well, you can't not give somebody their Snapchat because then they'll get really angry with you. All of that shit can lead us to these horror stories, of which there are way too many.
I think the thing about it that I think is really important to hear is I think what we all need and what we all demand sometimes from these stories in the press and societally and culturally is we need to be able to hold the monstrosity or the behavior at arm's length and say, what a monster.
That
you know, and I think the term, the crossbow killer, you know, everything about this, of course, the crossbow element to it is just the grisly tool that was employed in this instance. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, how did he have it? You know, lots of other people have knives, lots of other people have fists.
It would have been something.
It would have been something else. But I think the thing about it that's just so chilling for any parent, but for anyone, is the absolutely no signs, the silence, the surprise, the fact that this stuff can be going on in very ordinary, very acceptable, very socially normal people. You don't have to be absolutely sort of skew-whiff. You don't need to necessarily have a mental health problem, though, as I always say, if you go to these lengths of violence, it generally suggests there's some kind of mental health breakdown. But I think it's the ordinariness. For me, the greatest horrors in life are the ordinariness, when things are ordinary and when actually people aren't monsters. And I think it serves us better if we look at the ordinariness of what's going on and how it is spread throughout society. You know, this is an awful extreme example. You're right.
Sorry, I just wanted to get Farida's one because I think that's talking to you.
Farida, how have they turned around their pain to clearly speak and stand to raise awareness of this horror is so admirable.
Exactly.
I equate it to Gazans losing all yet continuing.
Exactly, and that's what we were thinking, wasn't it?
Yeah, really sorry for that. And that epidemic with men is extremely troubling in today's society. That's why parents of boys have to enhance healthy dynamics between their sons and women and encourage platonic friendship.
Yes, and encourage. Yeah, I mean, you know, the other point is that his brother is in prison for life for killing somebody. So that there's somewhere, but there was something went very wrong with these two individuals.
Like you say, YouTube. It's and that's not because we don't want to deal with it, but I think there's a kind of exceptionalism in terms of people wanting to not think that this could happen. And when I say this could happen to you, I don't mean necessarily in the terms of the victim. I mean in terms of finding in your family someone like the guy who did this to John Hunt and Amy Hunt's family. We all would prefer to think that however bad, however disconnected, however odd someone in our own family or someone we know is, that part of it could never happen to us. And I hate to say it, I think unless we really get mucky with understanding just to what extent dissatisfaction, alienation, hostility, misogyny.
We have to teach young men how to be rejected. Where is it coming from? We have to teach as parents. You have to teach them how to be rejected. And again, because of this, you know, fiery online, rageful, you know, misogyny, I think if they're not getting some help in understanding that, and then they're tapping into this online vileness, then we're in a dangerous position. But I think, to Farida's point, for these people to be able to sit there and talk about this and to be as blunt as Amy was there, they deserve us to listen to what they're trying to tell us, to have that awareness. If you've got a bit of a funny feeling as well about somebody, well, like you say, like Mark says, whether it's in your family or whether it's a boyfriend of your daughter, and you think, am I being a bit, just obviously don't react to it immediately, but just park it. Don't dismiss that you're just mad and you're just overreacting.
I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I'm going to. My first instinct on most people who have in the end resulted in negative, corrosive, damaging or disturbing behavior has always been right. And literally has always been right. I can rattle off many people that I can think of that have come into our lives that I can say, boy, and you know, and this is the trick, this is the dangerous part of it. For so many rational, reasonable, kind, socially acceptable reasons, one lets things go because one doesn't want to upset that person. You don't want to say that to that person.
Yeah.
Maybe one, you know, I'm going to be characterized as overprotective or something else. And actually, you know, it's hard to know how much you trust your instinct, but I think listen to it more than you think, because...
But what's really sad is this couldn't have been stopped because as they said, and I remember this actually when we talked about it on the last time, they were saying he turned really nasty when she split up with him. But what are you supposed to do when somebody turns nasty? You know, what would have stopped?
No, absolutely. And there are instances where you know, and also the other problem with that about your first instinct is you don't want to be so self-conscious and aware of everything that you are stopping yourself from having an open heart and having an open home. And I think the bit about this story that it just makes me feel so heartbroken in their testimonies at the time, certainly in John Hunt's victim impact statement, was the way he said, we opened our home to you. We took you in, even when we knew that there was some element of insufficiency. We took you into our hearts. And I think how many people can speak to that experience when your children have split with someone or whatever, you open your hearts, you open your homes. And you wouldn't want to not do that.
Anyway, our hearts and prayers go out to them. However one prays, I pray by saying, just make this world a better place. I'm not praying to a God, but I'm praying to a higher power than us somehow.
Should we go via something a bit more light-hearted, going into something else? Should we
do the dog?
Should we do this dog?
Because then we can go into the puppies.
Okay, so check this out.
This says, my dog's nighttime routine. Praise. So we've got not show Toffee and Chichi this. A bit like Toffee. I felt bad. We usually just go to our dog's night, massages.
No, I do. I go and give them a
cleans in the face. Gives a little rub, wipe down his face.
This is ablutions. So weird the way your phone does that.
Way that does that.
Oh. Gets a facial roller treatment. My God.
But look, he's loving it.
He's absolutely loving it.
I want to show. I'm trying, darling, obviously.
Oh my God, he's so cute.
And he gets tucked in with his weighted blanket and falls fast asleep. Does anyone do anything like that for their dogs?
I want to be that dog.
Well, that's a good point, Nora. When I watched it, I thought, yeah, me too.
Alison Barber, he won't go to bed until he's had his teeth brushed. Wow. Very placid.
I've recently bought one of these lymph drainage. You know the gua shower? I don't know how to say it. Stones that everybody uses. It's just a brush, but it's
this is like that thing that we were shown how to do.
To drain your lymph is actually, you're just very gentle. Like when you first get up in the morning, this will help any puffiness in your face. So you just sort of gently, you do this, right? Just 3 or 4 times. Should be the first thing you do when you get dinner. Does it?
You're getting me aroused.
And then, but I got this brush and it's sort of curved like that. Yes. It's got these little knobbles and I put it up and it's so nice.
Is it?
I do only do it 3 times.
You've got a brush with knobbles.
Not your knobbles.
No, I want a brush with knobbles to use.
Check out our How to Stay Married podcast this week. God, it was so funny. We couldn't stop laughing.
Christopher Gundle does look just like your Paddington, doesn't it? Bless. Hope you're well.
And then a bit like our Toffee.
Nearly called you Sweetie.
So let's go on to the puppy story.
Okay, so this is the story. Let me just find it. This is the story of Prince William and Princess Kate. Is that what you call her? Prince William, Princess of Wales, Prince and Princess of Wales. He's caused upset because they've let their dog Orla have 3 or 4 puppies. This has caused upset with PETA, which is a sort of, pet protection activist, kind of charitable. Is it charitable? I don't know if it is charitable.
It's an activist.
It's an animal activist group. Yeah, and they've been very outspoken, saying that this is irresponsible. They should actually learn from King Charles and Camilla. They should have got a dog from a what do they call them? A rescue center or a rescue home. There are millions of dogs being euthanized every day, and that this sends out the wrong signal. This is actually them visiting a rescue home. And this is the dog Orla that's had puppies. And this has caused quite a stink and quite a debate. And it's
so you were listening to it on the radio. So tell us, what were people's different?
Well, let me just read what PETA have said first. So PETA have said, the Prince and Princess of Wales should know that shelters here and worldwide are overflowing with puppies desperate for a second chance at a loving home. Churning out a litter in the midst of this animal homelessness crisis is staggeringly out of touch. Miss Allen went on to say, if William is going to lead, he might well take a lesson from King Charles and Queen Camilla, who have chosen to adopt from a shelter rather than contribute to the problem.
Can I just say something first of all?
Yes. What do we think?
Why do we have to be so pissed off with people? It's quite abrasive, that, isn't it? You might well want to. It's like, I use it as a springboard to make your point.
Yeah,
but I just hate the way everybody, it's like if ever on Instagram somebody might say, well, you might want to I think that's going to get people's back up. That's not going to get people listening.
I do agree. I do think there's a tonal issue.
Yeah.
But I would sort of, being devil's advocate, say that I think depending on where your sympathies and your loyalties lie on a topic or on an idea like this, someone who disagrees with you about something might feel that you're the hectoring voice that says, if something is your life,
and
it's
your passion,
you are almost hijacked on a minute by minute basis by the unfairness.
She sees all these puppies. She sees the horror stories of the puppy farms and all of this.
And the reason I say that is because I had the same opinion. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, Jesus, they've just had a couple of puppies, and Jesus, of all the people in the country, if they keep all the puppies, they're going to have a very nice home. They're going to be looked after. They're not going to be sent off or sold or anything like that. But then I listened to quite a few people calling in. I listened to the Petter woman. She was on the radio too. And it wasn't that I was completely taken to the other side, but I tell you what I didn't realize. I didn't realize the scale of the problem with unwanted dogs. Mm-hmm. And I think it speaks to everything we do in our incredibly privileged, addictive, overconsumptive.
Well, during lockdown,
cultures.
So many people bought puppies.
Yes.
That was it, and so there was an absolute. But I did know, because when we got our dogs, I had never owned a dog.
That's a good point. Just quickly, Faith Goodman's got a really good point. Sorry.
Go on.
Some rescues don't let dogs go to families with young children. Her brother bred the mum, much better than backstreet breeders who just want pounds but don't care where they go. That's an interesting point.
So that's the point actually I'm going to make. So I wasn't an experienced dog owner. I was actually really, really nervous about getting a dog, and 100% we were going to get a rescue dog, right? And then I started looking. Also, Dina is terrified of dogs. Another friend of ours that we were seeing a lot of at the time was also really scared of dogs and said, God, I don't know if I'll be able to come round if you have a dog. Right. So I had all these alerts going off, nervous about getting a dog, small child. And I started looking into rescue dogs. And actually, you're right, Faith. I don't know if it's different now, but it seemed, and maybe I was really paranoid, that they were saying for absolute, because a puppy's brought up in a puppy farm,
yes,
and then really neglected,
yes,
like a human being can, those first few weeks of life that you're loved and you're fed and everything. It's the same with the puppy. So they can get help, they can go a bit nuts,
yes,
and they can behave erratically,
yes.
And actually we knew somebody with a Cocker Spaniel. Now, I'm not saying that was a rescue dog. I don't know. But again, she told us a story about this dog that had suddenly gone nuts out of nowhere and just attacked their child, right? I'm not saying it's a rescue dog because I don't know whether it was. But I had all of this going on and I was really, really anxious.
Right.
So we ended up buying from a breeder. And God, we did the research and then the research. And because it's amazing. You scratch the surface. How many people are actually puppy farms? It is scary.
Yeah.
I mean, we went to the house, didn't we? We saw the mum and the dad. We drove from ours, got the dog, all of this. But I can understand why people feel really anxious because the advice is there that you can't be totally sure of a rescue dog.
Without wishing to sound blunt, but then maybe you shouldn't have a dog. I think we all assume we should all be able to have everything all the time. And I think it's like,
and yet we love our dogs.
Firmly...
No, but hang on. And yet we love our dogs.
Yes, absolutely.
And our dogs are a huge part of our family, and our children love our dogs. And at times when any of us have been low, those dogs have been a huge part of our family.
No, I'm not talking about when you've got them.
No.
Yeah.
But the point is, it was. I didn't think it was my right to have a dog.
No.
But I wanted to have a dog. I'd always wanted one as a child, but I was just very careful because I knew that how like some people can immediately go to any dog and they'd be like, I was always a little bit cautious around dogs. So that's what led me to get, and I think a lot of people are like that. Not a rescue dog isn't right for everyone.
Mayor makes an interesting point. PETA is a joke these days. I don't know anyone who actually pays any attention to them.
Really?
They are awful at public discourse. I think
What do you mean?
Well, she says they're too blunt.
Oh, too blunt.
I think in terms of, you're right, in terms of their kind of the way in which they deliver the message, it does come across as sort of humorless. And I think one of the things, I was listening to a woman who was again on the radio this morning, she was talking to Nick Ferrari, and Nick Ferrari was, you know, classic, doing that thing of, why are you letting this, what does he say, letting this grind your gears? He said, you know, look, some people want a guarantee that when they get a dog, there's some guarantee from certain breeders, if you put to the side that the dodgy breeders, that you think, okay, well, I know the mum, I know the dad, and I'm making a kind of informed choice. Whereas I said, it's the kind of Russian roulette aspect of a dog from a thing. And she was kind of laughing. But then she said, you know, we have something like, I mean, I need to check the statistics on this. She said there are literally hundreds of thousands of dogs being euthanized every year. And I couldn't lose the image of incredibly expensive indulgent cockapoo versus an incinerator with dog after dog after dog essentially going into it. And that image was something I struggled to lose this morning, which is, so here's the thing. I didn't like the way PETA dealt with it. I think it's overly harsh on the royals. I don't think they meant anything bad by it. I think there is a place for rescue dogs and a place for bred dogs. But the next time I ever consider buying a dog, I will think differently on the choices I make.
Because we won't have small children.
Yes.
But also, I think, and I spoke about this years ago, and I'm prepared to get attacked for it, because I like to talk about taboo subjects that people feel isolated and alone with. I definitely, when we got our dog, I had a bit of postnatal depression because I did have a rosy idea of it. And this is what I would say to anyone that's thinking of getting a dog. And loads of people said to us, didn't they? They said, oh, God, you know, don't get a dog. You don't know what it's like. It's like having a child. And you just think, oh, you're going to have a dog. It was really, really hard. It was really hard to connect. You know, Toffee, as she still is now. And of course,
post-dog depression.
I did. And sometimes when I spoke, there was a friend at work that had seen something I said ages ago about this. And she came into my dressing room and she whispered to me, I'm so glad I saw them. I've got that with my dog. I might say she fucking loves her dog now, just like you do when you first have a baby. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's
and
really
because
important.
People say, oh, you know, and I think sometimes people like feel so bad to say they're struggling and they need a bit of support that they actually get rid of their dog because they think, and actually I did within the family. I said, I don't know how to cut them 20 times. I want to go to a loo and And then we got a trainer to come in for one day, didn't we? And to just give us advice. Mind you, Toffee still did exactly what she did. That's her character. A bit like if you have a bit of a difficult baby.
Yes.
And so that's the way so from two people that didn't listen to people saying how difficult it was, it's really, really difficult if you get a puppy.
I just want to share this comment. Thanks from Natasha. This is interesting. Unfortunately, the requirements to be able to rescue a dog in this country are way too strict. So many dogs could have homes if they weren't as strict.
Exactly,
that's
Natasha.
Really
exactly, because I was saying to Kiki, oh, I'd love it if we could foster some dogs, right? Foster dogs. Because it's a really nice thing to do. You look after them for a little bit so they're not euthanized and they've got time to find an owner. But, oh, my God, I think we'd fail. I think we honestly would fail because our floor isn't clean enough. Our something or other, the step there, it's
this is
really
interesting
strict.
as well. These are interesting considerations. Alison Barber, pet insurance is sky high.
Yeah.
And I wonder what the pet insurer's policy is on a rescue dog, because they will probably eliminate all of the things that made it a rescue dog as things that you could get treated for it. So it's such a fucking con.
That's why it's never as simple to say you're disgraceful, you should have got a rescue dog. It's much more complex.
See, now I'm coming around the other way.
Well, no, but I think, Mark, don't you think in life we're always forced into saying one thing or the other?
Well,
why can't we have
exactly.
a like, oh, I'm a bit confused about this. I am not confused about the decision that we made for our kids. It was absolutely, I made an informed decision. I didn't want a rescue dog because I wouldn't be able to cope, and I was scared that the kids would get bitten.
See, for example, the 4 dogs I had as a child from the age of, how old was I when we got Daly? I think I was 8 or 9. So from 8 or 9 through to 12, we, in that period of time, got 4 dogs. Started with 1, then got 2, and then we got 2 sisters together. They were all rescue dogs. We got them all from Battersea Dogs Home. And Daly came to us, which was our first dog. And within the first 6 months, she fell ill. I'm trying to remember is it not diphtheria? She had such a bad disease that most dogs die from. And I remember for that we literally got a dog. I was like, and then she was dying on the floor in the lounge for what seemed like weeks. And then finally she got well again. So, there is that whole thing of you've got to have I mean, I'm thinking of a few people we know who have taken on rescue dogs, and they have a huge capacity to and pragmatism to cater for every single eventuality.
It's just like I wanted to have children, but I could absolutely adopt children. Distemper.
Thank you,
Distemper.
It was distemper.
If I could now, I would take in children from Gaza. If I could, I would adopt them. I can love any child. Now, and I think there's a real difference in different kinds of dog owners. Like, I was watching a video the other day of this amazing woman that works with rescue dogs, right? And there was this dog out in the street, and she went up to it, and it was like biting her, and it was growling at her, and she was just picking it up. And I was like, I couldn't do that because I don't have that in my character.
Yeah.
Whereas if you gave me a baby that was throwing up and just like, I'd be catching it in my hands, I wouldn't care. I'd be like, shit, I don't care. And yet somebody might look at that and go, oh God, how can you do that? So different folks, different strokes.
Misha, it would be mad to not have pet insurance, but you'd be amazed as soon as you have pet insurance. So for example, Chi-Chi, she had cellulitis. The one thing they now won't insure for is any repeat of cellulitis, which is probably the most likely thing that's going to recur. It's the catches, the catch outs are so, the clauses are so fucking ridiculous. Well, that was interesting. That was an interesting debate. Thank you, guys. Should we show something else that's funny? Should we show the Nan?
Yeah.
Okay, here's a funny for you all.
Hey.
What did one saggy boob say to the other saggy boob?
You need a lift?
If we don't get some support soon, people are going to think we're nuts.
Man. I love these videos with grands and their grandsons. I love them.
Bless her. Should we show another one?
Yeah.
What's this one? Do you need to tee it up, kid?
Can't remember because I can't see. Oh, I love these. I've got loads of these videos. This is kindergarten.
No.
Yes. It's really strange. We used to I showed this to these film and can we show this? And they said no. Why? Not this one. There's loads of these children. We underestimate what children can do. We are too bloody cautious.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose what I'm not hearing is lots of fun.
Oh no, kids love doing something.
No, I get it, but I'm just trying to work out why maybe they didn't want to show it. But maybe there was the sense of free will in there because it looks highly productive.
No, I think
they
children
look highly
if you see,
industrialized.
it's just like the Montessori method, isn't it? Where they give them stuff to do and they have to, and kids really like it. And I get it. I mean, maybe that's extreme one way, but I think we are over cautious. Like if anybody ever posts on Instagram, a young child cutting.
Someone says it's AI.
No, there's loads of them.
No, I know, but it's interesting. I mean, I tell you what they have done. I tell you what they have done to the clip. If you watch it, they've ever so slightly sped it up so that their industriousness goes a little bit faster.
I see. I just thought it was just so
it's
cute.
very sweet. It's very sweet. Okay, let's talk about this. I haven't got a story. I've got an old story for this. The men who leave their spouses when they have a life-threatening illness.
Yeah. Now, this is a bit annoying, actually, because I wanted the stats that was on the Stephen, but we can do that with that music if you just get them up.
So what account is it?
So I sent it on Coffee Moaning.
Okay.
So basically this was, what's he called?
I don't know.
Stephen, what's he called? The millionaire guy.
Oh, something of a CEO.
Yeah, Diary of a CEO. So it's Diary of a CEO and also the chap from...
Married at First Sight
talking, but we can't play it to you because there's
just so
stupid music,
stupid saccharine music all over
that's put on underneath it.
Stephen Bartlett, thank you very much.
Stephen Bartlett. So approximately 624% men are more likely to leave a terminally ill wife than look after, whereas a woman. It's only 2.9% of women that would leave a terminally ill man.
I think it's 2.9% of women would leave a terminal man, and I seem to remember it was 21 and something% men. So
it's a lot.
So what they said, the 600% is it's a 600% more of men than women in those statistics would leave. And I just think,
Paul
this
Brunson,
is
from
shocking.
Paul Brunson, when the Diary of a CEO
Why do you?
said,
Okay, let me just ask these guys first, though. Why do you think? And then Nadia will tell you what Stephen from Married at First Sight said. Why do you think this is the case? Go on.
Oh, do you want me to say it?
Yeah.
So Paul Brunson says because he believes, though I think there's lots of different reasons for this, that men put a disproportionate amount of importance to the physical side of a relationship, i.e. sex.
Right. So God, it all comes back down to sex. I'm going to pop some of your comments up whilst Naz is talking.
I was reading another article on this in The Guardian, and, there's also going to be things like often a woman is more dependent on a man financially, so they might have the choice to leave. Also, we are brought up to believe that we are the caregivers.
Mm-hmm.
And so that whatever happens, I mean, if you think about, like, if you have children and your children are ill, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be the woman that's looking after the children, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Men might do it for a bit and then they get a bit fed up. I actually love nursing people. I love looking after people when they're not well. Always have since I was a little kid. I used to go and get blankets and it's just it comes with being quite a maternal person, I think.
Women are more caring, says Michu. I love how simple some of these suggestions are. Laura Lou, I'm surprised 90% of women don't leave their husbands when they get married. I just popped this one up a minute ago.
This was quite specific to terminally ill.
Okay, well, this isn't that, but my sister's husband left her when they found out she couldn't have children. Yeah. In conclusion, Alison Barber, men can't cope with not having someone to look after them, and they suck.
I have to say, as much as I love my mum and dad, when my dad is ill, my mum does everything for her. When my mum is ill, he gets annoyed and jealous that it's not his illness.
Right.
He does. And the lack of attention. And this other article that I was reading was saying, God, they were giving so many examples of just how mean people can be when they're like one, and women will feel much more guilt. That was the other thing about not fulfilling all chores, however ill they are with their terminal illness.
Right.
And it was this was in The Guardian, one couple, the husband insisted that the wife carried on doing all the chores, even though she was going blind.
Oh my God. Anna-Marie Shellard could bring in a bit of balance. I'm from a family of men who care beyond what I thought was possible. The women too. I'm not sure who they ask in these surveys.
Well, there's always a mixture, isn't there? There's always a mixture. It's
Natasha,
just that.
Can you come round next time, I'm ill?
Is it like that? Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, I looked at lots of different articles. The stats are there and lots of different studies. The balance is like this.
Don Holland says a narcissistic character would constitute the majority of those men, I think. Just on this, the widows and widowers I know, I think both equally have cared for their wife and husband during their illness and death. I mean, obviously, yes, just look at the statistics. They're saying 21%. So that's 1 in 5. Only 1 in 5 men would leave, but that's infinitely more than the number of women would.
I once gave out an award at this ceremony for like strong woman, and this woman and her husband have been together years, and they've been trying for children, and they had IVF, and she was then found out she was pregnant with twins, just adorable. She had the twins, and I can't remember whether she was diagnosed with breast cancer when she was pregnant or just after she'd had the babies. But anyway, he left when the babies were 2 months old. Just left her.
Wow.
Left her and never did a damn thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
YouTube. I think
too much for him to cope with.
I think what the survey probably doesn't capture is the men who might find it a struggle, but also might get help to provide the care.
I just think that just naturally.
A lot of psychological stress. I agree, Chris.
Yeah. I think that it's a burden. Like, even my lovely, lovely dad, he does get a bit pissed off if somebody else is ill.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I don't understand getting...
He does get a bit pissed.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends will say that their dads, when they're ill, compared to their mums, the dads get pissed off.
Oh, what, in a sort of like...
Yeah,
but maybe...
Because they're used to being looked after.
Yeah, well, I think there probably is a bit of that. I think my granddad was like that. But sometimes I think there's a fine line between that, but also that's how a lot of men manifest their fear and worry. I think a lot of men do, and dad, I can say this as a dad. Sometimes I will get really antsy when I know that one of the kids is vulnerable and I'm worried about them and it's struggling. It's not about whether I can care for them or not, but I think sometimes men, understandably, express their emotions slightly differently. Which one do you want?
No, it's okay. It's good.
All right. Men can be lovely, but I think the caregiving role is a specific challenge.
I think we are brought up. We still are. We're still in a very gender-based, little girls are still given dollies.
I think that's a good point Miles says. I think it's more than men struggle with difficult times. Any decent man would accept a lack of sex, but they could still struggle with how to be emotionally available and supportive in a bad situation.
Wow, Paul Brunson put a lot of this down to men
Physicality.
a disproportionate amount of importance put to the physical side of relationships. So,
I want to show you a clip now that's a little bit traumatic. How would you feel if this appeared at your Ring doorbell?
Sunshine, you so bad. There's a paedophile right around here. Yeah, but there's a weirdo around here. Also, and you know it. You got to deal with Chris now. And I can call the dogs off. You called the RSPCA on me instead of kick my dog.
Now, this is the story of a woman who terrorized her neighbor. She's been given a jail sentence of 3 years.
Wow.
She harassed Ben and Emma. They didn't want to give their surnames. Morning, noon, and night, the judge said. They bought a flat in Wandsworth in 2022. This woman moved into the flat below in the April, and then their lives changed. After he reported Gray to local officials for kicking her dog. So they'd obviously reported her, and she went on a campaign of never ceasing to ring their doorbell and harass them. You made the lives of your neighbors hell. You persistently harassed them. Isn't it weird? Because sometimes you think, oh, a Ring doorbell is the thing that would stop that kind of thing, but the wrong person.
But she's clearly in the grip of the disease of alcoholism.
Yes, I mean,
it looks like, and I shouldn't say clearly, it looks like to me, because all 3 clips there, she was drunk. Yeah. But you know what? It's like, because you hear this a lot with people with troublesome neighbours. I wonder how many complaints they made and nothing was done. And then you end up putting this woman away for 3 years. Could there not have been some, well, I mean, we don't know, but people are having to move all the time because neighbours' appalling behaviour isn't checked. Can't there be some interim punishment before somebody ends up ruining people's lives and then going to prison? Reese asks, prior to us being together, did we ever have any problems with harassing neighbours? I did when I was a teenager. I may have shared this story before, but further down, he wasn't an exact neighbour, but he was a neighbour on a suburban street in Greenford. And he used to routinely, every morning, him and a couple of his friends bully me, shout at me, chase me, drive his car at me, because it was obvious to everyone in the community, this was when I was about 12, 13, that my mum and, my mum was gay. And so we were the sort of only gay family on the street. And so they would torment me, and so the only way, and so I used to circumnavigate, have to walk such a long way around to avoid just the true dread of going home, and then I had the dread of getting home for different reasons. And so what I did in the end then, Reese, was, and I'm not advocating this at all, they got so bolshy, they came up to me as I was going up my drive, so I turned around, walked up to them and smashed them in the face. And the resolution to this was, he was so humbled, he then thought he needed to be my best friend, and that was infinitely more nothing
draining.
Worse than somebody you hate trying to be your
friend. So I ended up avoiding him all the time, so I didn't have to say, hello, how's it going? Who should we go out and hit tonight? It's just like, oh, God. So that's the only time I've had a bad neighbour. I just want to share this photo. It's Glastonbury. All the bands start today. There's a couple looking great at Glastonbury. It's the Flower Pot couple. I just love that photo. It's so silly.
So silly.
So silly. Do you want to show your last clip?
No, we'll save that another day, because we can do a discussion off the back of it.
Okay.
But so for now, hit the subscribe button. Remember, the cook along is tonight, 6:30. Betty and Teddy will be here if you want to join. Actually, Mark, I saw somebody earlier saying they've been having trouble joining. Just give that sentence you give about what you have to do. So
here's the thing. Anyone who joins as a member, do not join via a YouTube app on any iPhone or any iPad. Go online, go through a server, go to Safari, go to Chrome, and register that way. Otherwise, Apple, they do it across the board with so many apps, will add a fee. So
unbelievable. So
yeah, it's $1.99 if you want to just become a family guest and receive the Sunday shows and lives every now and then. $1.99, and then it's $5.99 a month if you want to become a family friend, where you get all of that, and you can join us for the cook along once a month. But in order to join, I would recommend, otherwise you'll be like, well, that's not the price. Literally, Apple add the price on. So avoid that if you can. If you can't, then maybe don't become a member, because it will cost. They'll put a surcharge on it. And the only way you do it once you're online is there's the subscribe button. There's a join button, and you press it. Obviously, you need to have a Gmail account, but you have to have a Gmail account to comment. You have to have a Gmail account in order to, not to watch, but you have to have a Gmail account in order to be able to comment on lives or like lives and things like that. So my advice is do it on a laptop. If you're already a family guest, when you click on the join button or go to your membership button, it will give you the choice to upgrade. And of course, you'll only upgrade by the difference. But again, only do it on a search engine, on a laptop, on a computer. And if that means you have to kind of call up someone and get onto another computer, do it. It's worth it. And then when you come back to your phone or your device, your iPad, that's what I do for my mum with the family guest area. You'll have access. You just sign in.
So if you wanted to be a guest for both tiers, it's $5.99 a month. But you can have the first tier for $1.99.
Yeah, and it was a fantastic Sunday show on Monday night, if I'm honest. Everyone really loved it.
And
it felt really good as well in the evening. There was something quite nice about it, wasn't it?
It was really good. And Dina's out at the moment looking for some white wine for the sangria, putting peaches in it tonight. We've got, and as I say, Betty and Teddy will be here. I think we'll do a little bit of the garden. Maybe we'll bring the table around. So it's going to be a really nice way to spend a summer evening.
Faith, I'm having to I'm wanting to trot off to help my mum out. So the Friday quiz will be at the end of Saturday papers tomorrow. Saturday
so be prepared.
So apologies for that. Christopher Cundall has just gifted 50 memberships. Chris,
you're so generous. So
generous.
Randomly, some of you might get that. And it would happen now, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So automatically.
Suddenly you're going to be like, oh, I've got to, and well, you've got Christopher to thank there. He's like, you're like, I'm going to call you Mother Teresa. You're incredibly, incredibly sweet and incredibly kind.
That's a good point. Will I lose my
anonymously.
5 years if I come off and join again?
No, you won't. No. It literally, if you were to, and this is the other thing, if for a couple of months you can't afford it or don't want to afford it, or just need a break from us, for God's sake, you can stop subscribing for a month or two, and then when you come back, it will keep an aggregate score of your amount of time. As I've said many times before, the PIN badges are going out. We have to get a very streamlined system in place, because there's all sorts of issues with sending, can you believe it, pins with a sharp bit in it in the post. I mean, I didn't know there was such sort of issues. But
somebody there saying, I'd love to see a video of Dina being followed in the shops. Well, maybe we'll make a video for the members area of that.
Chilly.
Mark, you can follow me and her around Aldi.
Okay. Yeah, it's
because we've dumped a little.
It's very cancelable. Dina's very cancelable.
Yeah, well, no, we'd record it.
We'd have to pre-record it. You've been here from the start, sincerity, but mine only says 40. Oh no. Oh well, let me look into that. Sarah.
We've known you for years here.
All right. Okay, guys. Well, look, have a lovely. Oh, and by the way, tomorrow morning there will be Saturday moaning as normal, but there will also be a nice live curly cooks, and I think it's al fresco, isn't it? Again.
Yeah, we're going to be outside tomorrow, and we're cooking some gorgeous Persian food. I'm doing some lovely kebabs. Dina's doing a beautiful Persian salad. Actually, she's gone to this Persian cafe today, so she's hoping to find some really nice desserts.
She goes to the one in Peckham.
Yeah,
I just drove past it.
Yeah, the bazaar.
Yeah, it's really nice.
So that will be out in the garden tomorrow. Hey, Mum and Dad might come again because they loved it last time we did it in the garden, didn't they?
Yeah, really nice.
Dad goes, it was a really good show, wasn't it? It was a really good show.
And I'll send all your love. Sweet. I'll send all your love to Nanny Di, and if she's feeling well enough, I'll get her to record you a little message for all your family guests. All right, guys, that was really meaningful. Thank you so much. Thanks for all your comments. And we will something else will be landing on the channel. We're going to be doing something separate about the travesty that is Gaza, and there'll be something fun landing tonight. Okay, take care, guys. Bye.
Bye.